All right, good evening, everyone. On behalf of the Republican committees of DuPage, Plainfield, and Wheatland Township, I'd like to welcome you to our forum. My name is Tony Vermeer. I'm the Plainfield Township Republican Organization Chairman and the Supervisor of Plainfield Township. I'd like to first thank all the people who've made this event possible, especially Chuck Kern and Gene Kelly for their help. I'd also like to thank our precinct committeemen for their questions that they've submitted for this evening. And also like to thank all of our candidates for agreeing to participate in our forum and for their flexibility in helping us find a mutually acceptable date. So we have split this event into two sections this evening. The first section is going to be with our candidates for the 14th, and our second section will be our candidates from the 11th. I'm going to quickly go through some of the rules that we're going to be using this evening. So just at the beginning of this event, candidates drew a number so that they know what order they will answer questions in. The order will be different for opening statement and each question and closing statement. This event is not a debate style, but rather a question and answer forum. Candidates are not going to be allowed to question each other. Each candidate is going to be allowed a 2-minute opening statement. We have a timekeeper here up front. They'll hold up a yellow card when you have 20 seconds left and a red card when time is up. As I mentioned, I will allow you to finish your sentence, but we're going to move on to the next person after that. I'll be asking the questions from a pool that were provided by our precinct committee persons of each township. Each candidate's going to have the opportunity to answer each question, and again, we're holding those to 2 minutes, and then each candidate will be allowed a 2-minute closing statement. I'm also going to ask our audience to display the proper amount of decorum for the event, and we ask them to refrain from overt displays with respect to applause and or booing. Candidates, again, would like to thank you in advance for your participation, for your adherence to these rules. We look forward to a positive campaign event, and I wish each of you the best of luck on March 17th. And one last thing before we get started, I've been asked to make an announcement of the fact that we are having a Trump rally on Saturday the 29th from 10 to 12 on the corner of Route 59 and 95th Street on the southeast corner. Julie Berkowitz, I know, is doing some work on that, so if anybody's got any questions, feel free to see Julie. So with that said, we're going to go ahead and get started with the opening statement, and we're going to start with...
Boy, when you're number 6, you think you're 6, not first. Here I am. Thank you very much. Fellow citizens, fellow candidates, my name is Anthony Catella. Good evening. I trust most of you know me by now. I've been around since 2016 politically as a committeeman and an election judge at different times. I have worked for the candidates of our party. I'm a voter registrar. I've met with the people of St. Charles, Precinct 18. I don't think I'm better than anyone, but I do think I'm as good as anyone. I do not believe I have a right, nor does any man or woman have a right to hold public office. But I do believe, like any concerned citizen, I have a right to run for public office and to try my best to win. As a candidate, my motto is dare, dare, dare ever again. I therefore believe I am one of the new faces of a new generation of Republican leadership for Illinois and the United States of America. I believe I can infuse in the GOP a new vitality in the same manner that John Kennedy did for the Democrats and Ronald Reagan did for us. I know that's a tall order to follow. I also hold in my heart my great-great-uncle who ran for Congress in 1916 for Illinois District 8. He did not win, but he ran, and he dared, and he dared, and he dared. I've thought since running this campaign that, you know, if the Cubs can reverse a 100-year losing streak, maybe a family can. I'm going to give it a good try. I stake my claim as the next best hope for the 14th District of Illinois in the United States Congress. I don't think we candidates disagree on great issues that face us. It is our job as responsible candidates in our party to gain the nomination and then to build a suitable, sustainable environment in the district which inspires leadership of, by, and for the people. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jim Oberweis. Most of you know a little bit about me. I started an asset management company and a family of mutual funds, the Oberweis Funds. Built that from one employee, me, to $1 billion under management. Turned it over to my son when I got more involved in politics, and he's done even better, quite frankly. I grew up in the dairy business, milk and ice cream business, but I had an older brother, John, that went into that business, but unfortunately he had a stroke about 25 or 30 years ago. Rather than allow the company to be liquidated, I ended up buying it from him and his family. And since that time, we've built it from 50 employees in one ice cream store to today, 43 ice cream stores and over 1,200 employees. So we understand what it takes to encourage entrepreneurs to grow their business. We understand what it takes to get the economy moving, to create the right environment. And I think I'm uniquely positioned to serve in the 14th Congressional because not only do I have the private sector business experience, I am also the only elected official who lives in the 14th Congressional District who is a candidate for this office. We've been very fortunate also to have a great experience running against Dick Durbin as the U.S. Senate nominee 6 years ago. I beat Dick Durbin in 88 out of the 102 counties in Illinois, giving him the closest race he has ever had his entire Senate career. And in the 14th Congressional District, I beat him in every single county. I've also been endorsed by Illinois Federation for Right to Life, Lake County Right to Life, most of the Right to Life groups. We've been endorsed by Marco Rubio, by Don Manzullo, the former congressman who represented McHenry County in the northern part of this district. So I am in a position where I believe that I have the best chances to defeat Lauren Underwood, and I'm here to ask for your support and your help. Thank you very much for coming tonight. We appreciate it, and I think all of us here on the podium believe that it's critical that we defeat Lauren Underwood, and that's what this is all about. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tony, and thank you, all of you, for being here. Thank you for caring enough about the future of our state and our country to come out and hear this forum tonight. My name is Ted Grottle, and tonight I'm asking for your vote on March 17th. Briefly on my background, I was adopted at birth into a very loving, hardworking family. I'm the son of a small business owner, a paving contractor. I'm a husband of nearly 30 years and a father to 3 wonderful daughters. In college, I earned a starting field goal kicker's job as a walk-on at Notre Dame while playing for Coach Lou Holtz. My business career started from very modest beginnings at the Chicago Board of Trade as a runner and grew to have a 30-year career in the financial markets here in our Chicago area, starting literally with nothing more than $3,000 and a dream. If you look at my entire life, you'll see a history and track record of taking on tough challenges and finding a way to be successful through hard work and perseverance. Now, after that 30-year career, I'm ready to enter the world of politics and public service, and I'm not doing this because I have to. I'm doing this because I love our country, and I believe in the ideals and principles of the United States of America. They are worth fighting for. I'm running for Congress because I believe in all of us more than I believe in the political elites or the ruling class. I believe we deserve to keep more of our hard-earned dollars in our own pockets. I believe it's time for term limits for members of the House and Senate, and I'll fight to hold government accountable every chance I get. And I believe in that amazing document we have called the Constitution. I'll fight to protect our freedoms every single day I'm in office. I look forward to discussing the important issues we face as a community, a state, and a nation tonight. Thank you again for coming.
Thank you. God bless you all for being here. I couldn't agree with Ted more on that because you make a difference and make a difference in this election cycle. I'm James Marner, running for Congress in a district that President Trump won. All right? I love America. I treasure our freedoms, our Constitution, and our Republican form of government. And that's a form of government that we have to defend from one generation to another, and this is our turn, it's our generation. I will join the House Freedom Caucus and join with Congressman Jim Jordan, Mark Meadows, Warren Davison, and all the rest who will fight for us in Washington. I support President Trump and the America First agenda. I will stand and fight for our Second Amendment rights. I will stand with and defend our pro-family, pro-life values. I will respect our flag, defend our Constitution, and then I'm also going to make sure we have term limits in Washington for Congress. We need to get that done. Look, I will secure the border, support immigration reform, and make sure that we have a constitutional, legal, lawful process for immigration. We need to stop the madness and stop allowing our Congress and our states, our sanctuary states, to basically leave our borders wide open. I will look to the future and secure the leadership that we can do in Washington, and I will look to back not only the president, but I will back all of our Republican congressmen and all of our folks in this race going forward. One final thing I just want to say is, with the pro-life, pro-family movement, I got to wrap it up. I'm glad to have the sponsorship and the endorsement of Michelle Bachmann and all the great conservative leaders here in Illinois.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Jerry Evans. I'm a small businessman, entrepreneur, educator, and truly a political outsider. I have a beautiful wife, Lisa, and an amazing 1.5-year-old son, Michael. And I founded a music school that has about 275 to 300 students, along with about 12 staff members. I'm a Christian, and I'm absolutely unashamed of that. I'm also a very strong supporter of President Trump. First, I want you to know that I respect every candidate on this stage tonight. It really does take courage and conviction to be here, and I mean that genuinely. We all know that career politicians have an angle in politics and are often indebted to others at this point in their career. I want you to know I have some great news for you. I'm Jerry Evans. I don't have an angle, other than a passion for service and care for the district. I've built my business with a service-minded vision. I'm excited to share with you that I'm the candidate in the race who has been and will always be transparent on the issues. Since day one of announcing my campaign, I've had my issues and beliefs posted on my website. And several weeks ago, I announced my top 5 issues that I plan to address in my first term. That includes healthcare, immigration, tax cuts, defending life, and ending human trafficking once and for all. Today, I took another step forward. I've published my entire plan to lower taxes for small business and the middle class. It's actually right here, and I would love for you to grab a copy when you're done. My plan includes lowering federal income tax on the middle class from 22% down to 15%, and that is a tax cut of almost $6,000 a year for your middle class family. I'm Jerry Evans, and I want to let you know that I want to represent you with transparency so you can decide who is the best fit for you to represent you in Congress. Thank you again to everyone in this room, and I would be honored to have your support. Thanks.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for being here and for the GOP committeemen for putting this on. My name is Catalina Lauf, and before I go into really what I'm about, I just wanted to also thank my lawyer who allowed me to be on the stage today, because I almost got kicked off the ballot. And I wanted to shed light on some recent developments from that campaign crusade against me. It was actually somebody from the Wheatland Township GOP who was one of my objectors, and my campaign has recently learned that under the guidance by the Jim Oberweis campaign and Raquel Mitchell here, they did try to kick me off the ballot. So I'm very happy to be here, and it really has shown me that this primary shows you how dirty politics can get. And I'd like to remind all of the Republicans here in this room that there is a bigger enemy out there, and we should all be united. The bigger enemy is the statistic that 50% of millennials believe in socialism. The attacks on our religious freedoms, our First and Second Amendment rights, and this Congress that refuses to focus on kitchen table issues and not on things that matter, that refuses to focus on kitchen table issues and instead wants to impeach the President of the United States. And it's time that we fight back. We cannot continue to run the same people over and over again. Our districts change, and our party needs new people, new perspectives, and a new generation to carry the torch forward. I was honored to be appointed by President Trump to his administration. I'm the daughter of a woman who came here legally from Guatemala and a small business owner, and my parents taught me the values of America and to fulfill the American dream. But that dream is under attack today by the far left, and that is why I'm here, and this is why I'm going to take back the seat from Lauren Underwood.
Hello, I'm Sue Resin, and I'm asking for your vote tonight. Thank you to Tony and to all of the townships who put this event on in order for the candidates to be able to speak tonight. I am happy to be here. I'm currently serve in the Illinois State Senate, and I represent the southern border of the 14th Congressional District. This race is important for many reasons. It's a seat that must be won by the Republicans in order to take back Congress. We all agree in this room. We are united in winning back this seat, right? Yeah, you can clap for this, thank you. This is a mainstream conservative district that has long been represented by a Republican congressman. Now here's the deal, with redistricting taking place next year, that all could change. If Lauren Underwood wins re-election to the second term, the powers that be will likely draw the 14th Congressional District to permanently accommodate Lauren Underwood as a Democrat representative in this area for the next 10 years. I believe that with my campaign experience of winning 5 out of 5 elections, and my legislative record makes me the best option at this table defending and defeating Lauren Underwood in November. I have a solid conservative voting record in my 10 years in the Senate. I also am the only person in this entire race that has actually passed a bill that protects people with pre-existing conditions, and that's incredibly important. I'm the only candidate in this primary who can take on and has been battle tested in top-tier races against the Chicago machine. Again, thank you for the opportunity to be here before you. Thank you.
All right, so as we can hear from all of these candidates, right, I think we all agree that beating Lauren Underwood and winning back the 14th is the main objective of the party and every one of these candidates. This race has already been classified as a Tier 1 race. We know that the road to the Republicans winning the House comes through the 14th. I don't think that there's a way that we do it without winning the 14th. That being said, we need to make sure that one of these 7 candidates is the primary winner, can make sure that they can win in November. So, each of these questions, now I have a specific question for each of the candidates. And Sue, you will go first. So Sue, you voted for the Illinois gas tax, siding with Democrats. How can we trust that you will be a conservative voice in Washington?
Well, first of all, I have a 10-year voting record, unlike many people at this table. And in my voting record, we are judged by conservative groups, and I have a very, very solid conservative voting record. However, you have to recognize that the 14th Congressional District at one point was the fastest growing district in the entire country. And because of that, we have challenges with infrastructure and being able to update infrastructure. Our operating budget has never allowed for updating infrastructure. We've always had capital bills. So I've talked about the need in this district for looking at reasonable measures to allow us to update our infrastructure. And I'll give you one example. In Oswego, there were 6, because of all of the growth there were 6 schools that were built on a township county road. And now, because of the safety issue and all of the students and the buses going in and out on that road, the update for the cost of that road is $60 million. Now, theoretically, a township or a county cannot pay for that, correct? So it's important that we have capital bills for huge infrastructure updates because of growth, and that's why we supported the capital bill. I supported the capital bill. There is a lockbox for the funds. Many of the mayors that are here will tell you that they come to us in Springfield and have huge needs for infrastructure because of this huge growth. Our operating budget does not allow for it, and that's why I supported the capital bill.
So, Anthony, this is your question. So, in this room, you have very little name recognition and have had very little to no fundraising. How do you expect to combat the millions of dollars that will be spent against the winner of this primary?
Well, thank you for the question. Well, Harry Truman once said that there are three things that can ruin a man in his life: power, money, and women. I have a serious deficit in all three of those categories, so maybe the good news is I won't be ruined. But I give thanks to my employer, Mr. Jim Bobick of South Elgin, who owns and operates Trader John's Army Surplus Store, who's given me a $25 campaign fund donation, and I've opened up the campaign fund with that $25 in it. The other money that is going to my campaign is from my wallet, and I don't mind, because I'm a citizen politician running for office, and not trying to say I'm going to pay any price to win, but I'm paying out of my own pocket to be a citizen politician. Because why am I doing this? Because I care. Thank you.
Jim, this is your question. So, Jim, you voted present on the gas tax and have previously lost Tier 1 races. How would you respond to these two issues?
Sure, thanks. First of all, in my 7 years in the Illinois Senate, I have never voted for any tax increase whatsoever. I respect Senator Rezin for making her own decision to vote in favor of the gas tax increase, but it didn't stop there. I would just remind you she also voted for a bag tax increase in committee and other tax increases. I have not and have no intention of voting for any tax increases unless there is an offsetting decrease in a different tax. As far as Tier 1 races, understand I have answered the call when people have come to me with very, very difficult challenges. 6 years ago, nobody thought I could beat Dick Durbin, and I recognize that, but they felt I would be the strongest candidate to help in a statewide race. So I agreed to take it on. I didn't look and say, oh, let's see, I got to protect my record. In fact, when it comes to state legislator races, I've never lost a race. I'm 4 for 4. When it comes to statewide races, it's very, very difficult for a true conservative to win statewide in Illinois. The last one who did was Peter Fitzgerald. And I want to point out, from your viewpoint, where I'm sitting, he's on the far right, and it's not by accident. Thank you.
I'd like to respond to that since my name was said. First of all, when you're in Springfield and we have real issues such as how do we update our infrastructure when we have the fastest growth in the country, my answer is to sit at the table and figure out what works, not only for constituents. This was a negotiated bill by Farm Bureau, by the Chamber, by many of these groups that typically do not support this. So they recognize that it's a good bill. Jim's only answer on how to pay for things is handing out Oberweis ice cream coupons. So we need to understand that sometimes we have to make hard decisions in Springfield. Thank you.
Ted, this question is for you. Ted, how will you address the issues surrounding your involvement with U.S. Stem Cell Clinic?
Thank you. So I'm sure most of you don't know the nature of that question with Tony for mayor. I've been an investor and futures trader my entire adult career, 30 years. So Tony asked about one specific company that I'm an investor in, or was. I'm no longer involved in. Back about 8 years ago, I began having problems with my joints, my knees, and hips. I was told by an orthopedic surgeon that I had to bear the pain and eventually would have to get knee replacement. So I sought out alternatives. And one thing I found was using my own stem cells derived from my own fat tissue. I had stem cell injections on my knees and had very good results with that procedure. I was subsequently asked by one of the people I got to know through that if I would like to be an investor in a startup clinic using that same procedure. I did so. They ran into some problems. They had problems treating patients. I think 2 or 3 patients. They've treated thousands of patients successfully. And so when they ran into problems, I subsequently divested from the company, and I'm no longer involved. I never had any involvement in healthcare decisions. The clinic was based in Florida. I never lived in Florida. So my answer is there's literally hundreds of companies I've invested in my investing career. There's hundreds of thousands of futures trades that I've made. I will not claim that all of those trades and investments have been successful, but I do my best to learn each time and move on, and that's the case in there.
Thank you. Jim, this question is for you. So Jim, it appears that you have grassroots support. However, you are severely lagging in fundraising. As the Democrats again will be dropping millions of dollars into this race, how do you plan to compete?
So I was wondering what was going to come up for me after all these other questions. But look, I'm glad you're asking the tough questions. I tell you what, when I win this primary, I will have the support of the House Freedom Caucus. I'll have the support of the Club for Growth. I will be out there outraising anyone else who's in this race because we're going to have folks that are fired up. President Trump's team will be on board with us. We're going to get them to the district, right? Look, this is what it's about. We need folks that will stand up and fight. So that's my history in the Republican Party. I got into politics in Illinois in a race I never intended to get into in the village of Oswego. And why do I say that? Because I ran as a write-in in a race that there was a kind of a contested thing with one set of candidates saying the other set didn't belong on the ballot. So I jumped in and said, look, you know, if they rule right, I can be an elected official. I stayed in the race, even though I knew I wouldn't be able to win, joined the Republican Party, and I've been fighting ever since. What we need in Washington is a fighter, someone who's willing to take on the establishment, not only of the other party, but within our own party, and stand for our party, our Republican principles, our platform, our pro-life platform, our pro-Second Amendment, not backing down, not voting for red flag laws in Springfield, and someone who will not back down and not compromise their positions when they get to Washington. Fight all the way and stick with it. So that's how we're going to do it.
Thank you, Jim. All right, Jerry, this question is for you. So Jerry, you have very little name recognition, no fundraising, and you have not even contributed to your campaign personally as of the end of December. How do we expect to take you as a serious candidate?
Yeah, thanks for asking me the question. I actually guessed you would ask me that based upon asking that to Jim's. So yeah, thanks so much for bringing that up. So I would say a few things. First off, we are very proud of the fundraising that we accomplished in the fourth quarter of the year. I came to this race October 21st. I had about 9 or 10 weeks. And we also had Christmas and Thanksgiving in our way. And my social group happens to be a lot of musicians and pastors and missionaries, all of the richest people out there. Yet, we are very proud of what we've been able to raise, and we had a few people who had some disposable income who gave some max donations as well. So we're proud of that. We're looking forward to raising the money to go ahead and win this primary. And I would say, if I could bring it back to the essence of the matter, how do you win an election? Well, you have to have the most votes. So the question is then, how do you have the most votes? You have to have the right message. You have to be the right candidate. And you also have to go ahead and advertise and market well. I'm a small business owner where I started a small business after getting through parasites and Lyme disease in the same year that I got engaged and married with just about no money. And yet my school, I believe, is the biggest in the city that I'm at because we were successful knowing how to go ahead, get our message out there, and have a good product. And I want to let you know that I firmly believe that we can win this primary. I didn't run to run. I ran to win and live a life of self-sacrifice the same way that Jesus did, and we believe this is going to happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry. Catalina, you are very young, and your working history appears to be that of a job hopper, never staying in one place very long. how can we trust that you will stay focused in Washington, D.C.?
That's a great question. Typical millennial with the job hopping. And I'm proud of that. So I view youth in this race as a huge advantage. Again, we cannot continue to do and continue to run the same candidates that we do over and over again. Our politics are changing. When you have somebody like AOC and the Squad and Lauren Underwood, who are millennials, the Democrats know what they're doing. They're thinking about the future. Who do we have on our side fighting for freedom? As politics changes and the digital era takes over, there's a lot of power in social media and the digital world, and we need fighters on the side of freedom. AOC and the Squad and Lauren Underwood, well, AOC has followers of 6 million. Let's pretend that 75% of those people actually believe in what she stands for. That is a very scary statistic to me. And we need to ensure that we are running candidates that can compete with that on a national level. When I first announced, I'm the only candidate here that's received national media attention. And that's because I'm not afraid to fight on a national level for our conservative values. And I'll also say that a lot of the policies that we're focusing on when it comes to immigration reform, Social Security, and other things, well, they're going to affect my generation, the millennials, your children, your grandchildren's future a lot more than you guys. You know, you had your candidates in that time, and now it's time to carry the torch forward. I have worked in the private sector for 5 years, and you know, like a typical millennial, I had trouble finding my calling. But I firmly believe when there are women out there that are talking about socialism, I have found my calling, and it's to be their counterpunch.
Thank you for that. So next round of questions, this is a general question everybody will answer. And we're going to start with Jerry. So Jerry, you're asking today for our support and for our votes. What have you specifically done to support the Republican Party and its candidates in Illinois?
Yeah, I'm really glad you asked this question. Thanks for bringing this up. So there's a number of things I've had the privilege and honor of doing to support the Republican Party. First off, ever since I was able to vote, I've been a faithful Republican voter, and I'm very, very thankful for that. And then, you know, during my time as I was getting through parasites and Lyme disease and then starting my business and getting married, it was obviously very, very busy. But I had a privilege. In 2018, as my music school was getting more off the ground, I had the privilege of volunteering for Peter Roskind's campaign and going door to door for him and making some friends there. And actually, that's where basically all of my campaign staff comes from, is Peter Roskind's team. So very thankful for that, as well as I've gotten the chance to get to know Jeannie Ives over the past number of months. I'm a big supporter of Jeannie, and I appreciate what she's doing. And very, very thankful for that relationship. So I'm supporting her. We also gave to her campaign. And so that being said, those are some of the things that I've done for the Republican Party. But I think one last thing, if I could just add this, is that in 1854, the Republican Party was starting to go ahead and fight against slavery and fight against polygamy. Slavery was a system of theft. Polygamy was a system that demeaned women and demeaned the value of people. And I want to let you know that you can fast forward today to 2020, and I actually believe we're fighting the same thing. We're fighting against a system of theft, socialism. We're fighting against a system that devalues people or humanity, i.e. abortion. And I want to let you know I'm so proud to be part of the Republican Party, fighting for the ideals that we have and we have had, and I'm excited to go ahead and serve and potentially lead in this party. Thank you.
I just wanted to also note, when you call me a millennial job hopper, at least you know I'm not going to be a career politician. We should have term limits. What I've done to help politicians here in Illinois, well, it's very hard because there aren't a lot of great politicians in Illinois. I supported a couple congressional races when I was an intern back in high school and college. I worked on Governor Rauner's gubernatorial re-election race against JB. And I continue to have a great relationship with many young Republicans. The College Republicans. Turning Point USA is growing in this state, which is incredible. That means millennials are getting involved and taking back our First Amendment rights on college campuses. And I've also had the incredible honor of meeting a lot of great candidates who are running this cycle in Illinois. A few women, Esther Joy King and Jeannie Ives, and it's been an incredible experience. Mary Miller downstate as well, and we're all banding together and offering support and encouragement on this crazy campaign journey. And so yeah, I've done a lot in emotional, not much financial support, but yeah, grassroots as well.
Thank you. So before I started running for office, I was a stay-at-home mom like many people in this room, and I worked on local non-for-profit boards, and I found out really quickly what important issues locally look like, and then I was asked to run for state rep. Didn't know a lot about running, but what I did is 10 years ago is I put a grassroots group together to run against one of Speaker Madigan's incumbents who have been in office for 10 years. This is a top-tier race. I'm running against the Speaker of the House. And we worked for an entire year knocking on doors every day, every night, going to events. And we were one of the only Republican seats that were successful that year. Shortly after that, I was appointed to the Senate. I represent a swing Senate district. That's why I've had 3 elections, 2 more top-tier races where the Chicago machine throws absolutely everything at you. Boots in the ground. They bust people in to walk and knock on doors for opponents that will support the Chicago machine. And because of the grassroots and the support that I've had, we've been successful in every single race that I've run. When I run races, I also make sure that everybody on the bottom ticket below me who's running for county board, sheriff, treasurer, all of the races below me, we coordinate, we help them. And that's incredibly important because it's tough in the state of Illinois to be a Republican in this state. So we band together, and I make sure my team that we assemble helps everybody on the ticket. And we've consistently won. When I came into office in the region I represent was all held by Democrats. And in the last 10 years, we've worked to win back every single seat in the region and turn it from Democrat to Republican, and that's what I will do when I'm running against Lauren Underwood in the general. Thank you.
In 2016, I realized how I could begin to contribute as a precinct committeeman. And I went into that, and actually I was appointed by our county chairman, and then I ran on my own in March 2018 to run in my first election, unopposed. So that was easy. But you know, and then I read a pamphlet about the precinct committeeman, and it said, the most powerful office in the United States is not the President of the United States, but the precinct committeeman. And so that's how I began becoming a politician, as a precinct committeeman. And who knows, maybe my career can run from precinct to president, but we're not there yet. But I walk my precinct. I get out there and I talk to the people on the blocks of my precinct, and I hand out literature, and I let people know who I am. I'm not afraid of that. I'm happy to do that. See, that's the lowest level of government, but it's the most fundamental. And I walked my precinct for Jeannie Ives in 2018, and she won my precinct. And that's how you win elections. At the precinct level, you get out the vote, you bring forth all of the efforts that are required. Campaign managers can tell you how much of an effort, how much of a commitment, how much of a result those kinds of efforts and those kinds of a commitment make. And when you're a candidate, you win office, you stand up there and you thank the people that have done the boots on the ground work. And I think it's phenomenal. We have a great country, a good country, and a beautiful country. And all you got to do is walk outside your front door, and you see your country in the precinct, all the way up to the counties and the states, to this great nation of the United States of America. And I've only just begun. I've just begun. I have just begun to fight.
My commitment and support and efforts on behalf of the Republican Party and conservatism in general goes back a long way. As a freshman at the University of Illinois, I did everything I could as a YR to support Barry Goldwater. And in fact, as a part of Sheriff Richard Ogilvy's Operation Eagle Eye, I was one of many U of I students bused to Chicago to knock on doors and check voter registration lists. And everything you've ever heard is true. We found vacant lots where people were still voting. We found homes where people had died 10 years earlier, still voting. So that was my introduction into the political realm at that time. I've served as a PC for approximately 20 years. I've served as a candidate in various offices when asked to do so by other party leaders. It's not something that I sought out on my own. I also believe strongly in term limits. In fact, I've said that would be one of the first bills that I would like to file in U.S. Congress. But I'm not just talk. Let me tell you, I ran for the State Central Committee about 10 years ago on a plea, a petition of term limits. And everybody laughed at me because most of the people in the Republican State Central Committee had been there for 20, 30, and 40 years, and they thought it was a joke that I would think that I could get term limits passed in the Central Committee. But guess what? I got elected to the State Central Committee as a clear outsider. Some of those 20, 30, and 40-year people didn't like the idea of term limits, but we convinced enough people that it made sense to get new ideas, new blood, and new people into the State Central Committee. In fact, one of those guys that I was able to convince is sitting up back there, Roger Clare, and we got him to vote for term limits for the State Central Committee as well. And I think it's been a good thing. In addition to that, I have financially supported dozens, maybe even 100 different Republican candidates over the years, and I'll continue to do so under all circumstances. I'm not a politician. I'm a businessman who was elected to a political office. Thank you.
I'm not a 50% guy or 75% guy or 95% guy. I'm a 100% guy. And you can know that about me right from the start. My civic involvement has been mostly around youth sports, and it was 100% as a volunteer. I've never taken a dime for any of my involvement. My most recent involvement involves helping run the girls' basketball program for a club called the Illinois Rockets. I'm proud to say that over 75 girls have come through our program and gone on to realize their dream of playing college basketball. So we've saved the families in our program literally millions of dollars in college tuition. I've coached in close to 2,000 girls' sporting events in our area in the last 15 years. So my involvement has been strong with youth athletics. With politics, I'm bringing in a whole new group of donors. I'm putting a broad conservative coalition together to help win this seat back. It includes one of the most well-known conservative political activists in our area, Dick Uihlein, but it also includes so many new donors and grassroots volunteers that will help us win this seat back. So my role as I see it, and I just had a conversation with a gentleman this morning about my campaign literature putting state issues on there. My job as a federally elected official is to help work to strengthen and energize the Republican Party in this state. Our house is on fire right now, financially as a state. I will work tirelessly to help defeat the progressive tax initiative that's on the ballot in 2020, help support our State Central Committee, and help support the fine candidates up and down the ballot that we have running. Thank you.
So when I'm in something, I'm all in as well. I've served as an age group swimming coach in the 80s and 90s. That led to a little political involvement. I then became a scout leader, 17 years, Boy Scouts of America, Troop 63 in Oswego for 15 years. And when that was all over, my kids were grown up. As I mentioned earlier, I got into a little election I never intended to get into. And ever since then, I've been writing checks to the Republican Party, by the way, as you guys know. If you're a candidate, and even when you're not, when I was a Republican Party county chairman, you're writing checks to the Republican organizations, going to the events, supporting our candidates, and our organization. So God bless all of you that are members of the organizations out here. This year, I pulled out my checkbook, wrote a $2,800 check to President Trump's 2020 Finance Committee, the first and only one on the stage to do that, and then I did it again. I was the second one on the stage to write another $2,800 check to the Trump Finance Committee. Saw him in New Orleans, saw him in Milwaukee, and then I had one of my max out donors sent me to Trump Tower in Chicago. I've been backing our president. I was the unanimously elected Republican Party County Chairman in Kendall County, and we worked very hard. He won Kendall County. There's only 3 counties in the district that Trump won: Kendall, McHenry, and DeKalb, and we were one of them. We worked very hard. Look, I've also been backing other candidates in other races all that time. During 2016, when I was the chairman, every single office holder that was currently an elected officer, including the 2 state senators here, record vote totals that year for just about everyone, including Congressman Randy Holtgren. In 2019, I recruited 4 Republicans, Village of Oswego, a jurisdiction Lauren Underwood won. 5 months earlier, we swept 4 Republicans into office in the Village of Oswego. I was the campaign manager. One of the names of them is James Martyr as well.
Thank you. So for our next question is, what is your position with respect to President Trump's plan to finish the wall on the southern border and his stance on immigration? You start. No?
Oh, Jim? Me? Oh, me. Okay, thank you. Very good. Yes, I believe in a strong southern border, and it's vitally important that we maintain strength and security at the border. I'm for the president and for what he wants to do to maintain legal immigration, and I'm all for legal immigration. I'm against illegal immigration and illegals coming in here, particularly those MS-13s who do so much damage and hurt to people. So, right, I believe that we have a right to secure our borders, and I don't think that by building a wall we're showing ourselves to be cruel and unusual people, because we're not building that wall to keep people in that want to go out like they did in Berlin. We're building a wall to keep people coming in who are, not respecting our customs and our courtesies. That's all. If they will show themselves respectful and courteous with a true desire to become a citizen, that's fine. We don't want people coming in here disrupting our life and our society, because that's an invasion. So basically, that's how I see it.
Well, to start off with, I think the wall is only a partial solution. I think we, among other things, must enforce E-Verify, which requires companies to check on the legal status of people that they're hiring. Some of you who looked at this situation for a number of years might remember a helicopter ad that I ran in an earlier commercial. I was very early on in reporting the cost to taxpayers of illegal immigration. Nobody thought about it at the time. I'm going back about 15 years. Nobody paid attention to it, and the Chicago Tribune hated me for bringing up that particular topic because they wanted open borders, they wanted more people coming in, legal or illegal, it didn't particularly matter. Today, with the president's position on illegal immigration, I was too far ahead of my time. That ad today would probably be very popular. In fact, we're thinking about maybe we should bring it back. I don't know, we'll see. Look, at Oberweis Dairy, we have used E-Verify for 15 years because I think it's the right thing to do. Unfortunately, when you talk about illegal immigration, there's kind of been an unholy alliance between Democrats who want more potential voters that they think will, if illegals come in, that they will be Democrat voters. And on the other side, some Republican businessmen who are looking for cheap labor because they think they can hire those people at a much lower wage. That's just fundamentally wrong. When you allow people to break our laws, it ends up with disregard for law. We need to enforce our laws. We need to decide how many people we want to allow into this country. And it's been approximately 1 million a year for the last several years. If that's the right number, fine. But make sure that they do it legally. Because if you let an extra 200,000 people in illegally, that means 200,000 people that we should have allowed in legally who followed our laws are pushed to the back of the line. It's not fair to let people cut to the head of the line. It's just fundamentally wrong. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
When you look at past action on this, the concern is always that they talk about combining border security with some type of amnesty, and then they never get to the border security part. You know, we have to have border security first and foremost. That's an important component to have completed. And so I support the President's efforts on this. I'm pleased to see that we've had a 70% decrease in apprehensions at our southern border since the high point in May. We're working with other countries in Central America and crafting agreements and partnerships with Mexico, with El Salvador, with Honduras, with Guatemala. And we're getting some assistance in helping our country know who's coming in, have proper land ports of entry, proper immigration, legal immigration system, but border security is first and foremost, and certainly building a wall is part of that effort. So I support the President and what he's doing on that.
Thank you, Ted. Jim?
So I've crossed the border at McAllen, Texas, into Reynosa, from Eagle Pass into Piedras Negras, and I probably butchered that. From San Ysidro, California into Tijuana. I've flown into Mexico City, worked in the mountain town of Sagun, flown to Sao Paulo, on the north border, worked in Toronto. When I went to these countries on various different projects, I worked with work permits and had visas to go there to work. And when I was done, I followed the law and came home, and I got my next job right back here at home. So I expect the same thing out of people coming into our country, that they follow the legal immigration process. I'm the only one up here that has a true reformer A+ rating from Numbers USA. It includes things like Jim mentioned with E-Verify, but it goes much further than that. End birthright citizenship, end sanctuary cities, and implement not only border enforcement, building the wall. We support President Trump on that. You know, our Congress, Republican Congress, let us down. We need people who would actually be there, pass the border wall funding and our immigration reform bills that we need to make sure that this stuff happens. This is a huge problem that needs to be addressed. We cannot keep kicking the can down the road. We cannot give people a pass to the front of the line. We need to make sure everyone follows the rules and abides by them, because we owe that not only to all the citizens, but also our new citizens, our green card holders, our visa folks that are coming here the legal and the right way. I work with these folks every day. I work with people from around the world, from Shanghai to Mumbai and every place in between. I've been to Europe on business trips, and again, you know, we need to make sure the folks that are doing this are following the law.
Thank you.
I support President Trump fully, and I support his efforts to solidify the southern border. I really appreciate how the President understands that we are a nation of the rule of law. And we must be governed by the rule of law, and we cannot have illegal immigration. So I fully stand against illegal immigration, and I'm for legal immigration only. My wife, Lisa, my beautiful wife, Lisa, her mother came as an immigrant from Taiwan, and she came legally, and she came the right way, and I support that right way. And so I fully support finishing building the wall. The wall is effective if you look at it statistically, and wherever the wall is needed, wherever ICE wants it, wherever the President wants it, I fully support that, and the allocation of funds for that. On top of that, I fully support E-Verify. As a small business owner, I understand the importance of making sure that we have people here that are working here legally, and I support that process and that system. In addition to that, I also fully support the ending of catch and release. It is incredibly uncompassionate to have a system where people can jump the border, get caught, stay under custody for a number of days, and then be released with no work permit, with no semblance of how to live in society, and then and then a lot of them don't even come back for their court date, and so they're having to live lives where they can't get a good job and can't give good opportunities to their kids. So that system needs to end, 100%. But I want to let you know that ultimately, in terms of immigration, I'm 100% for legal immigration. Our nation is a nation of the rule of law, and we need to start with the rule of law, and we need to end with compassion. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Catalina?
So I firmly support building the wall. President Trump has tried to do a lot with immigration reform, and not only is it an economic problem, obviously when we talk about E-Verify and things like that, but we also need to focus on the safety and security of our Americans. And I think the biggest problem right now, though, is that it's far too politicized. Both sides aren't coming to the table on immigration reform, and that needs to end. Republicans have a messaging problem when it comes to building the wall and border security. I am the daughter of somebody who came here legally. I firmly support immigration reform, but we need to also combat the false narrative that we're racist, that we do not want people in here. That's not true. And the reason why it's not getting done is because it's far too politicized. We need better messengers on the Republican side, people that can talk about the facts and statistics. One in particular, I was just recently visiting a local jail in McHenry County, and it was shocking to me that the majority actually of the ICE detainees weren't even from our border, weren't even from Mexico, Central America, Guatemala. They were actually from Eastern Europe, the Middle East. We need to focus on not politicizing it. We have people that are coming across our border from different countries that want to do us harm. We have trafficking happening, not only sex trafficking, but also children that are being sold at the border. And that's not just from, again, Central American countries, it's from all over. And we need to dig deeper. We need to actually look at the facts, and we need to message it properly so that we can have comprehensive immigration reform done. Because if we don't, we are risking the safety and security of our Americans, and we are also risking the economy of the United States. And it needs to be done. And I'm done with the politicizing of it, because that is the biggest problem.
Thank you.
Look, you're not a bad neighbor if you lock your door at night, or if you make the call who gets to come into the country or not. Walls work. Israel and Taiwan are perfect examples, and it's just not the wall itself, but technology, drones, sensors, cameras. That method isn't the important part, but the results is a secure border, and that's what we support. People don't realize, but several years ago, Senator Durbin, or President Barack Obama, actually supported and voted in support of a wall. Until now we have President Trump, and now they oppose the wall. Senator Dick Durbin didn't support the funding of the wall way back when, because he said it doesn't go far enough. We need more money to build the wall from one end to the other. So this has become a political issue. But one thing that I can tell you is that if Lauren Underwood is still in office, she supports open borders and sanctuary cities. On the other side of the coin, when she was in a meeting, and let me get this quote, she said that open borders actually said that the migrant deaths on the border was intentional. She said that in a committee. Do you remember that? Her words were so outrageous that they were stricken from the congressional record. It is important tonight when you're choosing up here that you choose the best candidate that can beat Lauren Underwood in November. Thank you.
Thank you. So we've reached a point where we're going to do closing statements. So at this point, Jim Martyr, you 2 minutes closing statement.
Thank you again. Thank you, Tony, and everyone here who put this on. I know how much work it is. I'm going to repeat. I love America. I love and treasure our freedoms and our Constitution. I will join the House Freedom Caucus. I will support President Trump, put America first, stand and fight and defend our Constitution, stand and fight for our Second Amendment, no backing down, no red flag laws, no way. I will support our pro-life and pro-family Republican platform 100%, not 80, not 70, but all the way. I will make sure we secure this border, support term limits, and I will be relentless in the pursuit of cutting the size and scope of the federal government. Radical socialist Democrat Lauren Underwood wants to turn the American dream into the socialist nightmare, along with dear leader Nancy Pelosi. Look, I'm a leader you can trust. I have experience in international business and manufacturing. I've worked with workers on the factory line, in the warehouses, in the laboratories, and in the boardroom. But you know what? What's most important to me, it's life, liberty, religious freedom, faith in God, my family, my beautiful wife Jill here of 34 years, our 4 children, our first granddaughter, and I will go to Washington to fight to make sure that we can secure liberty for my family, your family, and the next generation, because that is what is at stake this time, this cycle. President Trump has to win. We have to be out there fighting for him, make sure he wins not only all those other states, but let's take it for Illinois. And let's back our president 100%, no backing down. And there we go, time to fight for our future here in Illinois.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you so much for being here, and thank you especially to the Wheatland, Plainfield, and DuPage Township organizations for organizing tonight's event. Thank you. I strongly believe that I'm the candidate in the race who's not only best equipped to take back the 14th district, but the most consistent candidate on the stage who is best equipped to represent you. I don't care about ego. I just care about living a life of self-sacrifice the same way that Jesus did, and I want to do it for the 14th district. In terms of viability, my values fit the district. This district has pro-life, pro-family values, pro-business values, lower tax values, pro-Second Amendment values, pro-legal immigration values, and more. And those are my values. I'm transparent about that, and I would love for you to read more about those on my website as well as my plans that I've released. In addition to that, we know the Democrats like to play the race card. Well, my wife is half Asian and my brother's black. Good luck to them on that one. And then lastly, I've heard from inside sources that Lauren Underwood wants to play herself off as really nice and play the Republican off as the big bad mean guy. Well, I hang out with little kids and help them enjoy music. Also, good luck on that one. In the end, I want to make sure healthcare costs are affordable, and I have a plan and solution to achieve that goal, which creates undoubted coverage for people with pre-existing conditions, and I'm committed to that. I understand how to properly support the economy that President Trump has built. We need to make sure the middle class and small businesses have an updated tax code that best represents their needs. We need small businesses to thrive, and as a small business owner myself, I believe I have the necessary experience needed to get this done. Lastly, I want to stand up for life and the pro-life movement. I'm 100% pro-life, and there is no need to ever chop up a baby and suck it through a tube, because that is not humane and not compassionate. I'd love for your opportunity to talk with you tonight. Please come meet me. I'd love to shake your hand, and I will bring back your values and your voice to the halls of Congress, and I'd be humbled to have your vote March 17th. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you all so much for being here tonight and taking the time out of your busy schedules. It's so nice to be able to share our platform. Since I announced, I'm the only candidate on the stage who has received national media attention, and that is because I'm not afraid to fight for our values. My following spans every single state. The support for my candidacy follows every single state. And here in district, I'm the only one on this stage that I've outraised every single one of my opponents on small dollar contributions from this district. That means that more people in this district support my candidacy because they're willing to give $5 and $10. And there is more power in $5 from a farmer who said the only 2 candidates farmer from Harvard that said the only 2 candidates he's ever given to was for President Trump and myself. There's power in the veteran who knocks on doors every single weekend for my candidacy because he has fought for freedom and is worried about the freedoms being taken away from here. There's power in Mark and Sally who are so worried about their children and their grandchildren's future that they host meet and greets and knock on doors for me as well. We need to focus on the future. It's time that we have new people and new perspectives in the party. If we don't, our country is lost. We need younger people fighting on the side of freedom. And if you want one out of 435 members of Congress, do not vote for me, vote for one of my opponents here, because I am committed to being a lion on the national scale, not only to represent your values and put the power back to the people, but also defend the evil that is coming our way and to ensure that every generation has the future of the American dream too.
Thank you.
Again, thank you for hosting and all of the time that it took to put an event like this together. We all agree that we need to defeat Lauren Underwood in the general, right? We're all here. That's what we're trying to, that's the common theme that we have here. But in order to do that, you have to be able to understand how to run and win elections. It's tough to be in the state of Illinois and be a Republican and consistently be challenged by the Chicago machine with unlimited amounts of money coming after you. My 2016 race for state senate was millions of dollars, and we still worked hard and we won because of boots on the ground, because of the grassroots effort that we put together by having 50 interns, high school and junior and college people working for us, talking every day, knocking at doors, talking to them, and explaining what our candidacy is about. It's important, but it's also important to have a team in place that understands and has the track record that has actually won congressional races. And I have a team that has run and won 10 congressional races in the state of Illinois, which is a different animal. It's a challenge, as we know, in the state of Illinois. We're constantly barraged by the Chicago machine and unlimited amounts of money that they do have. So we will continue to work hard to get out of the primary, win the primary, but more importantly, we can't lose focus of who can beat Lauren Underwood in the general. As I talked about when I first introduced myself at the beginning, I'm the only person at the table that has actually passed legislation that protects people with pre-existing conditions. The reason that we're talking about healthcare for 10 years is because neither party has gotten this answer right. Healthcare is still not affordable and it's not accessible, and we have the power by winning back Congress to once and for all get that answer and get healthcare taken care of at the federal level and bring down the cost of healthcare. Again, I thank you and I ask for your vote in March 17th. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Fellow candidates, fellow citizens, I'm Anthony Catella of St. Charles, Illinois, and I'm a candidate for Congress. I run to represent and serve the vital interests of you, the good people of the 14th U.S. Congressional District of Illinois. I stand for the jobs, interests, and industries of the people of the 14th District. I believe that honesty, transparency, and solid judgment are essential qualities to lead with integrity. I'm an Army veteran and currently hold a commission in the Indiana Guard Reserve. I'm a citizen, soldier, statesman, man of faith, dedicated to the American way of truth and justice. I believe that jobs and lower taxes bring us fiscal stability and prosperity. These are the essential issues that affect us in this district, throughout the state, and the country. I believe that jobs, lower taxes, and fiscal stability are essential to our people's progress and prosperity. Finally, I believe in the ideals of faith and freedom. These ideals have made us the greatest nation in history. Faith means that we believe in divine providence, and freedom means that this self-same divinity has endowed us with the inalienable rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Providence has blessed us with the abilities of intellect and will to govern ourselves with reason and justice. The ideals of faith and freedom are the solid foundation upon which this nation stands. They have made the United States of America truly one nation under God. And I am convinced that as long as we remain true to our sacred spiritual and national heritage, we shall long endure as a nation. And with God's help, we shall fulfill the resolve of Abraham Lincoln at Gettysburg, that government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth. Thank you.
Let me just say, I believe and I hope that all of us up here on this stage believe the single most important thing is to replace Lauren Underwood, who has a more extreme voting record. More extreme voting record than either Nancy Pelosi or AOC. Now, this contest is getting down towards the end, and there's some barbs and trade-offs that go on. My good friend Sue calls me somebody who's lost some elections. I call her somebody who doesn't live in the district. I think those are fair hits. However, when we tell lies, when we say things that aren't true, the only person that benefits from that is Lauren Underwood. And I want to call a fact out here from Ted Grattle's recent mailing. I'm going to read from his mailing. Mike Madigan and J.B. Pritzker are funding Ted's opponents to keep control of every level of government. I will guarantee you, Mike Madigan has never funded me in any way. I'm sure he's never funded Senator Rezin in any way, and I'm pretty sure he hasn't funded anybody else up on this stage in any way, so that is an out-and-out lie. I hope that Ted, in closing statement, will withdraw that. Unfortunately, Ted has that tendency to play a little bit fast and loose with the truth in other areas. For instance, when the question about U.S. stem cell came up, he kind of said, oh, well, it's not much. Several people went blind as a result of what they were doing in Florida. Ted was personally mentioned and personally barred by the FDA from biologics. This was not just some side investor who didn't have much to do with it. This was a key component. And I truly fear if he should be the nominee, Lauren Underwood would take that information and bury him. We have to work together to make sure that we support each other to beat Lauren Underwood, because that's what this is all about. Thank you. I want your support. Thank you.
Well, I didn't expect to be personally attacked tonight. I'm going to just say again that my involvement in U.S. Stem Cell Clinic is no longer there. I've divested from that company. We all learn from our mistakes. I never had anything to do with the healthcare decisions or day-to-day operations of that business. And I feel like I can take on Lauren Underwood and defeat her. I believe she does not represent the values of our community. So thank you for being here tonight, and thank you for those thoughtful questions, Tony. And tonight, I want to remind you that on March 17th, a vote for me is a vote for freedom, for constitutional rights, and for conservative values. It's a vote for holding government accountable. It's a vote for continuing the policies of President Trump and putting America first, and it's a vote to defeat the radical policies and stances of Lauren Underwood, who does not represent the values of our community. I can't tell you how often I've met people out on the campaign trail knocking on doors, and I say, I'm Ted Grattle, political outsider, and they say, that's all I need to know, you got my vote. I have people who say, if there was a choice on the ballot that said delete all, they would vote for that. We need new ideas and new leadership, and I'm ready to bring those to the table. I put together a strong network of donors and grassroots volunteers, and I'm just getting started building that. So please consider voting for me on March 17th. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ted. So again, I'd like to thank all of the candidates and thank you for being here and answering our questions. A couple of things we want to make sure, right, that vote by mail has started, early voting has started. So please make sure, right, you get this message out and you get it to other people. We've also been recording this. We're going to put it up on YouTube, so if you have friends, neighbors, as precinct committeemen, as a lot of you are, it's important to pass this information on to all the people. And I have one last question that is a yes-no question for all of our candidates here, and I'm just going to start with number one and just go right to left. My right to left, your left to right. And that question is, will you support the eventual nominee to beat Lauren Underwood? And it's a yes-no.
Yes, I will. Jim? Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, absolutely.
Very good. So thank you, everyone. A big round of applause for our 14th congressional candidates. We're going to take a 5-minute break, and then we'll start the second section with the 11. Thank you.